Natalie, what would you like the world to know about you?
All right, so hold on, because outside here, one thing is like that I like saying because even though I do have a disability, I barely pay attention to the fact that I have it. Is that like for most people, just because you have a disability does not mean you have to be that you're treated differently, really.
Currently working today?
Yeah, I work at Starbucks, and so I'm officially back on because I had a little bit of a COVID scare like a week ago.
Oh no.
I
Are
came
you
back,
are you
I
okay?
yeah, no, I came back negative, so I was like, oh, thank God, Lord have mercy. But due to regulations, which I'm happy with, I'm a little bummed I don't get money out of this. But it's still, even if it was negative, it's still a standard 10 days off. So this is officially my first day back, and I'm so excited.
What would you say to somebody who has been bullied because of their diagnosis?
Because honestly, when I was young, I almost did get bullied, and I still to this day laugh at the fact of what they did because they were making fun of my clothing. The thing I said was, I don't understand why you're doing this because I see no point in this. So for me, what I like to say is basically, more likely than not, the reason why they're bullying you is because either they've been bullied or they just feel like there's something wrong with them, thus they want to go and be wrong to someone else. Because really, that's mostly what bullying is. The kid that's bullying is most likely having negative emotions at the time, thus they want to go and react to someone else who's probably having a happy, nice day, and they want to ruin it because they're ruined. It's mostly what ends up happening for most of the time. But yeah, I treat people, I don't care if you have a disability or like there's something wrong. I care more about like how you react to the world. Like like their personality. Like if they come off as nice and kind and caring, I will be like the same. To where if they're just rude and angry at everyone, I will be nice, but I'll just more be like, okay, let me just back up just in case. I don't want to like let me just pretend like you have a sharp pointy object. Don't face it towards me, and we'll be fine.
Awesome.
Sorta.
You have a diagnosis, correct?
Yeah, for actually the longest time, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and then it wasn't until senior year of high school when I was 18 that we found out, okay, no, it's Asperger's, or as it's now called, part of the autism spectrum.
Colson strengths with your diagnosis.
I have to say with that, it's more of like I don't always like understand. Like I honestly have a button somewhere that like says like I don't understand social norms because I literally like I look at people, I'm just like, why did you just do that? Like what makes like I honestly it kind of goes into more what I want to be, which is forensic psychology. But it's more like I don't understand why like the reason like you would do something like for some humans would do the reason what they do. Sort of, it's like, okay, so why do we shake hands? Or like, why do you have to react a certain way when someone does something? Sort of like, I would look at it and be like, I don't understand this. Like, why do we do this?
What is one thing you should not say to somebody who has a diagnosis?
Honestly, like, there's actually, I took a course or an intro to sociology, and one of the weeks it was about disabilities, and it was actually someone wrote a page and they said like about their life, and she is in a wheelchair for I don't like something that happened with her birth. I can't remember exactly what it was, but because of that she's been in a wheelchair for most of her life, and like the one thing she hated was the fact that when she was in restaurants, sometimes the waiter would be like, 4 people in a wheelchair, instead of saying 4 people and someone that is in a wheelchair. It's like, it was basically like, okay, that's not something you should say. Like the manager would always, like she said how the manager would always come up to her mother and be like, I'm so sorry, here's a free dessert, or here's a free whatever. And they would laugh it off, but like she like always hated it. And that's something that like for me personally, like if I told someone I had a disability, most of the time they react, it's more like a positive of like, oh, okay, so how best can we help you to make sure this is right, compared to, oh my God, I'm sorry, you got to get away from me. You could, like, I don't want to get infected.
Got
It's
it.
like, basically, I would say the best way is just react, like, if you react negatively, at least do it in your head and, like, just calmly, like, take a few breaths and then be like, okay, this is cool. We can work with this. How can we help you? Instead of just being like, oh my God, I'm sorry, we cannot help you.
I love that. I love that perspective. If you could be the president for a day, what would you do?
I honestly, the one thing I would love to do is just basically literally make it so everyone had to go to class to learn like how to be polite. Because honestly, I like, no matter where I am, I always feel like you gotta be polite. I don't care if you haven't been in their place before, but like if they look busy, don't just come up and be like, hey, where's my drink? Or hey, what's going on? Just be like more like, hey, I know you guys are busy, but you know what? Because I don't have time, it's okay if you don't have to make it or something like that. Like, just be nice about it. That, and then also like a how-to of how to understand someone has a disability, how best to like, okay, so what's the best way to react to that in a positive manner? Instead of being like overblown and be like blowing out of proportion.
So maybe just like if you were president, you would want to see more disability acceptance, it sounds like. Yeah, just more disability acceptance and more people having to be like more civil, because honestly, like with what's going on, we do not need people to act like they're the biggest thing in the world. Right. Be humble.
They're just one person. It's okay. You can calm down. You don't have to make it like the biggest statement in the world.
As Kendrick Lamar says, be humble.
Yeah. No, there was actually my old work. Oh my God, one person just stormed out of the restroom, and like the somatic entrance was like, the restroom is terrible. I went back. I was the one that cleaned it that day, so I was like peeved. So I went back with the manager. We looked there, and we're like, there's nothing wrong. There was like maybe like a few toilet papers on the floor. And I'm just like, okay, she obviously thinks we're the Taj Mahal and that we're like, everything has to be sparkling.
Yeah. What do you like to do in your spare time?
I love to read, basically. And every once in a while, like a poetry or like a song lyric will come in my head, and I'll just like blurt that out for most parts. But reading, watching TV, and listening to music.
What would you say has been one of your greatest challenges in your life? And then up to this point, what would you say has been one of your greatest accomplishments? For example, for me, my greatest challenge was being nonverbal for the first few years of my life. And the greatest accomplishment, I think, would be that I just received my doctorate. What would you say is your greatest challenge and biggest accomplishment?
I would say having to mostly like I would say it's that much of like a bad thing. It was more the fact that I wasn't really always the best at school, especially like when it got to sophomore year. I literally took a downward spiral because I still say this because I hate it so much. Geometry. I am not a fan of geometry. I think it was just the combination of the teacher's way of learning, which was lecturing, and I'm not good at just hearing lectures. But also, I just could not understand a word what was going on for that. But one of the things I have to say that was accomplishment would be finally starting back in college recently.
Awesome.
So,
congratulations. Where are you going?
ASU. It's Arizona State University online.
Nice.
So,
and then what are you majoring in?
The forensic sociology. I keep saying it wrong.
How did you hear about the next program?
Honestly, I think it was my mom that learned about it. So she learned about it, and she most likely told me about it and was like, you need to go. And just like pushed me towards it.
Nice. What is the next program for people who might be watching?
I believe it's just kind of like, it's that in-between step of, you just got out of high school, what are you going to do now? / all right, I'm an adult. All these other things I got to do now. It's like, it's mostly just for people that are transitioning between being a kid and like a teenager into, okay, I'm going to be a working adult. I might not always, it's like, you got to remember, you can't always have mom and dad helping you. So, okay, how can I move out? Or like it's basically like it teaches you the steps you need, like either how to move out, like where do you find your apartment, or one of them is like an accounting one. So it's like, okay, how can you balance your checkbook to make sure you have a correct budget so then you can go on to the next month and not have to owe any money or anything.
Awesome. And it's based in St. Louis. Have you made any, what have been some of your fondest memories of being part of the program?
Oh my God. What I love is like, we have been doing some kitchen classes, which as much as I don't like working in the kitchen because it's always messy and I don't like going anywhere near like ovens, it's still just fun just kind of to watch someone make and like to learn recipes.
What else you would like for people at home to know about your story?
Honestly, it's kind of more like, even if you do have I would say more it's like an outward view. It's like, even if you do have a disability, it doesn't mean you have to hide and like be sheltered the whole time. Like, even if you can't always, like, even, because like I'm reminded of a Criminal Minds episode, and it had an autistic child in there, that like he saw the person that did the crime. And so even though he couldn't like verbally speak out correct, like what he wanted to say, he was able through drawings and his scheduling was able to say, hey, this person was the one that took his parents. And so it was just like, for that, it's like basically like, it basically almost states to the whole thing of just because you have a disability, no matter where you are on that spectrum, doesn't mean you can't help. And you can't, but also like you can't help, but you can also like function as a normal being, or at least what you believe is normal.
Everyone, Kerry Magro here from A Special Community. I can't thank you enough for watching this video, and if you like this video, please click on some more videos around our YouTube page. We are just trying to give a voice to countless people in our neurodiverse community, so please, if you can, subscribe to our video page, and then you'll also get to see a little bit more about my story from nonverbal autism to today being a professional speaker. Thanks so much, y'all.